Bulge it.
Oh,
wow.
Because of his high life standards.
This guy.
His ethical standards of life coaching. Oh, my God.
Creating the book.
I'm getting a little teary-eyed. Our little boy grew up.
That's so funny. Oh, my God. He has surpassed us all. Left us in the dust.
Was there ever any doubt?
Today's episode is made possible by our therapy partners, Dirty, B, Myra, and Pickett. From fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada. This is Pod Therapy. Real people, real problems, and real therapists. You can submit your questions anonymously at podtherapy.net or email us at podtherapyguys@gmail.com. Broadcasting from the Churn, that's Dr. Jim, that's Whitney, I'm Nick. It's time for some Pod Therapy.
Have you ever been to a wedding and felt there was an insufficient amount of cake? Have you ever gone to a high school party and thought, these girls need giant, weird flowers on their chests? Patreon.com/therapy.
Well, if you had, and that made you feel bad things, I can help you with that.
Oh, that's right. We need a hotline. He needs a phone number.
I think he's doing fine on his own. I think
you know what? The
he's doing
bookings
good
are going
without
great.
us.
He doesn't need anything else. Wow. The marketing prowess. It is remarkable. Anyway, welcome back. We are post-Valentine's Day. We are cruising right on through. Mm-hmm. And a quick PSA, we are not yet at, but quickly approaching March Madness. That's coming back. So,
yeah, I believe in a month.
Pick'em is it a month away for Pick'em?
Yeah, it's usually second week of March.
Okay, we close in. We close in pretty. I mean, we only get to do the show weekly, so we want to give people a heads up. But we have an active tournament that we host every single year. It's for all the patrons. So if you're not already a patron, get over there, patreon.com/therapy, even at the $1 level. We put it out into the system, and we can have as many who want to play as possible. And the hosts, of course, compete against each other, usually for Sushi Glory, where the loser buys for all the winners. And who was
I thought
that
the loser had to get tattooed.
Yeah, that's been discussed. I don't know that the committee ever passed it. So
I believe we have a quorum right now.
Yeah. Oh, that's not how that works.
Yeah, it is.
You're reminding me that was like one of the first episodes
Yeah.
I came on. So I was like,
has it been a year? Have you officially
join
been
y'all
around?
for sushi, even though I wasn't part of March Madness.
Oh, yeah.
Has she been here for a year?
Shit,
Isn't that crazy?
yeah.
Who had to buy sushi last year?
We went to Oishi on Rainbow.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
Nick
Did Nick
lost.
pay? Yeah,
Did
I
Nick
think
pay?
Nick
Yeah,
paid.
no, I
That was
did.
the same
Yeah.
night that
I know it sounded like I was setting up to rub it in on somebody there, but I genuinely don't remember who.
Yeah, I
like,
think
it
it
might have
was
been me. I'm not
Nick,
sure.
But it was the same night that New Orleans beat
LSU beat Iowa.
That's
the
right.
women's.
Oh, that's
And you
right.
showed up in an LSU
Yeah.
shirt.
Yeah,
and
I
it
forgot
was-
about that.
That was
Yeah,
fun.
I
God.
didn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, the stuff of nightmares.
LSU wouldn't beat Iowa this year. I was better than LSU this year.
Iowa's pretty good this year.
Yeah.
She did it.
This is the Iowa
you
women's
see?
basketball team.
Caitlin's
She did.
insane.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
She
I believe
she
in
took
every
the
sense
record.
of the word.
Yep.
Are you going to go all in on Iowa again? You gonna do this again? You gonna pick them for the?
No, the men's.
No, because we picked the men's. We picked the men's bracket.
We picked the men's.
We could do a women's bracket.
I'd be
could.
down to
We
double
might as well
up.
do a women's bracket.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Just go
Although it's a lot
UConn.
easier this year.
Yeah.
We're all
Yeah.
picking Iowa.
We all pick
so.
the same.
Nobody's getting too far away from old Iowa there in the
No, I don't think so.
in the bracket challenge on the women's side.
Get in on this. Patreon.com/therapy. If you'd like to suggest what the larger tournament win, I think we've always said that the winner of the larger tournament gets like free merch. I think that's a given.
We haven't done that for the last couple
We
years.
can delete that. Don't worry about it. We'll get rid of that.
Yeah,
We'll
we're not
forget
The
getting
winner
rid of
gets jack shit. Anyway, let's get on with the show.
The winner gets bragging rights because
that feels right.
at
Well, years ago we had this bright idea
Oh,
of putting
well,
bumper
shit.
stickers
Yeah,
on
no,
cars, but that's a terrible idea.
We'll come up with something.
Well, no, that idea, like a lot of things, was ruined by Jacob as fast as it was imagined. Like, it didn't even get to hit the soil before it was rotten. So, yeah, we'll never allow that again. Great question.
We're doing tattoos.
Yeah, we'll just do tramp stamps. Hey, look, a henna tramp stamp, I think
Another
I would be
one?
down for.
said
Another
henna?
one? Yeah. I'll put it next to my other tramp stamp. I could see a henna tramp stamp as the bit.
I think a henna face tattoo.
Just straight Mike Tyson.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Jim
don't
and
think I could do
Sessions.
that.
Yeah.
Whitney, you have the same fucking problem, okay? We have outward-facing
know.
professions.
Yeah, but I'm not going to lose.
Whitney's confident.
Oh, you're just not going to lose?
Just
yeah.
like football, Jim.
Man,
Okay.
you
Exactly.
remind me of a younger Jim when I had a real bad gambling problem on the show.
No,
we don't gamble with Jim enough on the show
I
anymore.
just won't lose.
No, we
I think
don't.
it's because you cured me of it. Like, I kept losing it.
You just couldn't win.
I lost my doctorate.
It was phenomenal. I own Jim's PhD.
He's just holding it in a
body.
closet somewhere. Like, I don't have that anymore. So, yeah, I mean, I had to finally stop because it was getting weird. Patreon.com/therapy. Come be a part of the shenanigans. We've got some great questions for this episode. First one, moving on after a long-term relationship. Long-time listener, first-time caller. I'm getting out of a 10-year rocky, codependent relationship. Ultimately, it's a good thing, and I'm excited to rediscover myself and get a life again, so to speak. However, in the past, I've ruined newly formed friendships by constantly complaining, comparing, and just plain dumping my baggage about my spouse. I know this is not healthy or fair, but my life was so intertwined for so long, I feel like I don't have much of a personality outside of the relationship yet. And obviously, I'm still dealing with the drama. How should I go about unloading all this past baggage so I can actually be a fun friend who isn't just a complainer about her ex? Like, should I put a rubber band on my wrist and anytime I want to say something about him, I snap myself to keep quiet? Or what are your suggestions? I appreciate it and look forward to hearing your advice as always. Anonymous. I like the self-awareness in this.
Yeah.
I think we've all, I don't know if everybody's been that person, but we have all known that person. That's like, God, I don't want to hang out with them. They're so emotionally draining.
This has to be 100% just normal, right?
That's what I think about this all the time. I'm like, if poof, tomorrow Peter were gone for whatever reason,
We can all
divorce,
picture it.
death, whatever. Yep.
We've read
Chicken's
your
been
journal.
imagining this for a while.
We've all read your journal.
You saw it coming.
Yeah.
No one's surprised.
Yeah.
But it's like, I think we've been together like 16 years or something. And it's like, if they're gone tomorrow, all of your experiences as like a grown-up adult are with that person.
Right.
Who are you then? And in the
what?
next relationship, do you go on to saying like, oh, yeah, I've been to wherever place. We did this, we did that, or you just like I did this, or like, look, here are my pictures.
How do you
from
erase them from your
like,
template?
Well, you don't. I mean, you've lived life for the last 10 years. The last 10 years are, I don't know how old the writer is, but, they are,
a decade.
half, a quarter, a third, whatever of their entire life.
Yeah.
Whatever the number is. But you've spent 10 years becoming the person that you are today.
Right.
10 of those years were intertwined with another person.
Yeah.
Like, that's going to be some shit.
Yeah.
Well, and also like the negativity stuff. I mean, where the writer's
that's
saying,
true.
look, historically,
They're like
I've
the
bummed
negative
out
stuff.
friends
Yeah.
while I was married because I was complaining, which obviously our relationship ended. It probably should have, as the writer says. But yeah, I've always been the person who I'm getting it out, right? And so this is a tricky thing. I think a lot of us have done that. A lot of people have done that. And it's tough because I think for friends, you want to be supportive, and I think you want to help your friend through it. But then you're also like, oh my gosh, like I don't just want our get-togethers to always be this like dish. That sucks.
It could easily fall into that.
I mean, that comes. You have to be self-aware.
Yeah.
You have to be self-aware of that. I have a pair of friends right now. They've just recently completed a bad divorce.
Oh.
And we were friends with both of them before they were married.
Oh, this couple. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh, those guys.
Yeah, exactly. It's Whitney.
They're
Um,
damn it.
Yeah,
Look, we're burying the lead. Whitney's single now, fellas.
Yeah.
Right in with you.
let her. Ladies,
Take
let
a
her
shot.
rip.
Yeah, you know what?
Yeah, don't be
get 'em all in.
sexist, Jim.
Good point. Thank you.
She's just ready for a change.
Yeah.
The point is, she will say no to nobody. All right,
Right.
that's what we're trying to get out there.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. All right,
Try new things.
the standards are gone.
But like, both
She's
of
in
my,
mourning.
both of my friends, though, when we hang out with them, like
Ready for a rebound.
they are both actively, and we are too, actively like not bringing up memories that
okay.
involve all of us.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's not. It's
Yes.
Go ahead.
I can't wait
I'll
to hear
jump
next
in.
input.
Please jump in
Yeah,
when you're
I'm waiting
ready.
to hear his.
no, but it's not like an uncomfortable thing. It's just
Right.
like we're enjoying the evening, and we don't want to bring that down. And the longer you go, the more natural that is.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard in the beginning when I've had like
a couple everyone is changing behavior.
Yes, and you're like, oh, remember when we did that? And you're like, oh, that's with them. And then you're like, no, it's awkward. But how do I make it not so awkward?
Yeah, right. So Nick, tell us how to make it not so awkward.
Well, no, so I was just scrolling through our Patreon because I did a deep dive on this.
Oh.
And I had to find it. And it's
a deep dive for his deep dive.
Yeah.
Yeah, we need an index. Oh, wait, I made one of those. It's on the front, dummy.
Well, either way, I found it after like 10 minutes. But it was from May 29th of 2023. So it's a deep dive on healing from divorce.
Oh, yeah, I remember this.
Yeah. So I got a whole deep dive in there. So
Did you talk about this specifically in that deep dive?
Not specifically. I just kind of talk about just the whole process.
Okay.
Getting over it. Also, by the way, the fact that I had to dig this far means we've been really consistent with Monday episodes.
We have.
Holy shit.
Good for us.
I'm going to stop this letter just so we can pat ourselves
everybody.
on the back.
Y'all used to not be?
We don't get enough chances.
No, because my year I've been here, it's been, I'm like, y'all just do
this? We did nothing.
We did, yeah.
Well, I was like, how do y'all think of so much content? Honestly, I'm like, every Monday is a lot.
It's a fucking struggle. I'm not going to lie.
I'm impressed.
Well, it got very meta when Nick released an episode about how hard it is to come up with shit. And then that was when the snake bit its own tail. And I was like, well, people are here because they like us. They don't give a shit what we say anymore.
We made it through.
We're still here.
We're on the other side.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, so that's done. Back to the letter. A couple things. Yeah, it is really awkward. And I think you definitely don't want to just unload on one person, which is why you have a support team instead of a support person.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so like when I was going through all of this, I had a whole bunch of people. And so I never felt like I was overwhelming any one person.
Yeah, that's
good.
You know, I could reach out to this person, I can talk to them for a little bit, I could reach out to somebody else. And then I also would try to reach back out to the other person and have a conversation not about what's going on.
Yes.
Right.
Or like, what's going on with you?
Exactly.
Like, put it on them a little bit.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And so,
how about them Brewers?
Yeah,
we don't talk about them enough.
Yeah.
My ex was a Brewers fan.
Oh, shit. I knew it.
Jacob's like, exactly.
Everybody's ex is a Brewers fan.
Yeah, and so that's very helpful too. So if you can like kind of put together who's on your team, you know, and just kind of rotate, you know, and they don't even need to know that. You know, they don't need to know that they're being rotated in and out like that.
In fact, it might be better if you do tell them not to phrase it that way.
Yes.
No, just let him go.
Yeah,
he's doing great.
It's fine.
This is great.
But yeah, it always is awkward then too. Like when you start dating, you know, and you start having all these conversations, and everything about dating is going to be talking about past experiences because you're trying to teach the other person about who you are. But you're still trying to figure out who you are.
Yeah.
Outside of that relationship. And so any story you tell, like, oh yeah, I've been to Jamaica.
Right.
Like, and then you kind of stop like, no, I'm gonna stop talking about that.
That seems
because
like
I can't
that would be really difficult.
You know? Yeah. And so it's like you have to kind of like piece together, and you almost kind of like start filtering out certain things, and the way that you talk about it is kind of.
See, okay, the writer didn't necessarily ask us, like, about dating without referencing their ex. I think they were mostly talking about, like, hey, I bellyache about this too much. But Whitney brought up a good point, because I think for Jacob, Whitney, and myself, if any of the three of us divorced, this would be our problem.
I totally.
How do you even introduce yourself to a new person? Right? Because you sit down and go, oh, so tell me about yourself.
Like, don't bring up your ex. It's like...
Okay, there is not a word I can say. Like, where'd you go to college? Well, that's relevant.
Why do you live in Las Vegas?
Why do you live in Las Vegas? Okay,
I graduated in 2003, and here I am.
You ever had ducks?
Let me take it back. I know. There were ducks. That was in our pool.
Did you order the duck for dinner?
Well, I mean, it's even like... yeah, we had ducks in our pool. I mean, my pool.
I know.
Pool. They were our ducks.
Yeah,
my ducks.
And it's... Yeah, and so
it is yada yada through a lot.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, just
graduated, yada yada. Here we are in 2024.
Yeah, don't worry. Nothing
do
significant happened.
But I mean, the other thing though too is like the other person knows.
Yeah,
like you didn't.
I
like,
agree. There's going to be some acceptance that that's going to be the situation.
Right.
Yeah,
but you're right, Jim.
Unless they're like mega insecure and they're like, "Oh, was that with her?" I'm like, yes.
Red flag.
Yes.
Are you telling me you've had sex with another human being?
No, that's why we're divorced.
Okay.
Wasn't working, obviously. obviously.
But you're right. The writer's like saying, I'm really letting out my frustrations about that's a good point. Because at first I was like, oh, that would be difficult. How could you just not reference your ex? But they're really saying, like, I'm kind of dumping the things that pissed me off.
You have a friend. You have at least one friend that hated your ex the whole time.
They're here for it. Yeah. They want more.
That's the person that you find to dump.
Find them.
Because they want you to dump.
Yeah. Tell me more.
I always told you he was a bastard.
And then what happened?
No, you have told the story, but tell it again.
Yeah.
This time use voices. I really like it.
I love when you use the puppets.
No, that's true. Actually, I was just thinking about a really, really close friend of mine, and again, we were like couples friends with them and their ex, and like when she calls me, she's like, "Oh my god, he did da 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 da," and then she'll do her whole thing and be like, if we didn't have time then, she'll say, all right, I'm going to call you later this week. And then I want to hear about your stuff too. Or if it's like, all right, sorry, I'm done. Like, what's going on with you? Like, she will stop and then check in after we're like, yeah, fuck him or whatever. Like,
well, I just want you to know, Whitney, that if things don't work out, come talk to me about
Laura.
it.
No,
because I fucking hate Peter.
Yeah, me too. I've never met him. What a dick.
I've just been looking for a reason.
Yeah, I don't know the angle we're working on here, but it's great. I don't care.
Nick tells me that, then he's like at the cigar lounge with Peter. I'm like, what?
I don't know him that well, but so far I'm impressed.
Yeah. Honestly, he's put up with a lot. This guy's kind of a saint. Really, I admire him. I mean, I don't have the strength.
No,
but this is, I think, also one of the valuable things that a therapist can be in your life. And I know that we've both
punching
done that.
bag.
Absolutely.
This is one where I'm like, yeah, just go find a therapist, pay them, and spill all
Bring
your
it to
shit.
me.
Yeah.
Spill
Bring
it
it to me.
Even if you don't think like you need a therapist, it's so beneficial.
This is
to
a
just
great example.
unload.
There are plenty of stories like this where there are people that are like, man, I'm clearly not healed from this. I'm clearly resentful. It is influencing my thoughts. It is ever present. And it's also causing this weird kind of flavor in a lot of my friendships and family. And like, that is a great reason to sit down with a therapist and say, look, I clearly have some work to do on this. If I didn't, then I wouldn't need to worry that I'm burdening everybody. So let me bring that here and be intentional about it. And let the therapist, A, harvest all the bullshit into one box and be the keeper of that box. But B, help you deal with it productively, because every friend is going to handle it slightly different.
Yes.
And that's going to be a mess, right?
It is. Yeah, because even with that one friend I'm referring to, I have to be careful. Tell me, Jim and Nick, honestly, in your experience, like, do you ever... It's hard not to carry over your therapist's perspective. And I'm like, stop, Whitney.
Do your friends ever tell you that you're using the therapist voice?
No, they've been kind to me, but I know they think it. So,
I have friends that call me out.
Yeah,
like,
no, Peter has before, but
you've got a very
know.
distinct therapist voice.
Yeah,
yes, I speak like Oprah Winfrey whenever I'm in therapist mode.
No, you sound like you're on NPR.
It is.
I'm Terry Gross.
I'm
just very Terry Grossian. Yeah.
No,
Oh, really?
We're listening.
And how does that make you feel?
Tupac Shakur changes.
Do you think it was just a cigar, or do you think it meant something?
Was he aroused?
No, my friend will be like, I'll call you when I need like sane advice, and then she has this other friend who will be like,
fuck that guy. Yeah.
And so I'm like, oh, yeah, okay. Are you okay with that? Do I need to be more like, fuck that guy? Because I'm like,
no, you have a role.
Oh,
yeah, she wants in that role.
Yeah, exactly.
But this is the point. Like, you talk to some friends and they're like, I never liked him, blah, blah, blah. And sometimes you want that. And sometimes you start off the conversation kind of wanting that. And then toward the end, you're like, I'm not getting anything good from this. Like, we're working ourselves up into like a froth fury.
Yes.
And this isn't good. And like, I'm starting to realize I'm bringing too much energy to this. So I can see that. Whereas if you were, corralling that energy to a therapist, I think that we are generally pretty good at walking that line when you're our patient, not our friend, of walking that line of like, let's empathize with you. Let's also create space for you to continue to explore what it is you're saying and like redraft that several times.
Yeah.
To the place where maybe you land on something that's actually useful. And you can walk away from that and feel like I've metabolized the energy associated with this.
Yeah.
And now I'm going to go out to the movies with my girlfriends and like, you know what? I'm super excited for that. And it's not going to be a continuation of this conversation. We did it. Like I talked for an hour about my shit. I'm moving on now. I'm going to go have dinner. And that's could be really good for you too.
Yeah, being active and doing things as opposed to just, calling and talking. or going out to dinner and just talking. Like, try to come up with things to do, activities and stuff like that.
It's hard. It's hard to get like too deep into it when you're playing mini golf.
Yeah.
Yeah, you could be like, "Oh, fuck my ex."
I thought you meant like go take a key to his car. You didn't mean that kind of things. You meant something else.
Well, I mean, if you do it,
an activity is an activity.
If you do it with a friend, I suppose that's fine.
It's team building exercise.
Group activity. I was gonna slash his tires.
Well, a lot of people relate to this question, Ryder. But hey, you're newly single. Whitney's single. Give it a shot. You know, and she wants to hear all about it. She does.
Luckily, Peter doesn't listen anymore, so we're good.
Yep, that's his punishment.
He didn't make it to the year mark.
None of the spouses listen to a fucking word of the show, and it is for the best.
I'm not sure, now that I'm thinking about it, that my wife knows the name of this show.
Wow.
No, I'm sure she does.
Did I tell you?
She knows it's a therapy show. Like, she knows you guys.
Yeah.
But, like, she knows the therapy thing.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that she could be like, hey, this is the show.
Not a clue.
I texted SJ last night.
Oh, yeah?
Mm-hmm. We were we're at Giotto's eating dinner. And so Old Red is like right out the window. And Peter's like, look at this building they built here. I was like, yeah. I was like, SJ has a whole show there coming up. So I was like, hey.
Yep, she'll be there tomorrow.
Yes, she will, she said.
You know, it's funny because SJ is on, like, of her own merit, the program that she's got going, not to get all into, Jacob's life here, but is impressive. Like,
yes.
I mean, like, the Spice Girls thing was fucking awesome.
Yeah.
I have completely separately just been in conversation with patients that work in the industry, and they have unrelated.
Yeah,
like,
just
do
bring
not
it
know
up.
that I do a podcast.
Right.
Thank God, because I don't want any of them to know.
Yeah.
Don't know I know Jacob.
Yeah.
Have just of their own accord, in free flow, just talked about things that are SJ related.
Yeah, you're like, oh.
Like, oh, you got to see the new Spice Girls show. Like, I have seen the new Spice Girls show. Oh my God, they're amazing. Or like, oh, have you heard of
You're
old,
like,
Old
Ginger
Red or
Spice?
whatever?
Yeah.
And like, there's this great like country rock band. I just checked them out. I'm like, oh my God, I think I know one of the singers that. Oh, do you? Yeah, was it called SJ and the Ruckus? Yeah, they're fucking awesome. Like, that's cool. Like, that's my
so
friend's
cool.
wife. So
That's awesome.
yeah. Anyway,
Yes.
the point, Ryder, is that you should probably hang out with SJ.
Yeah,
I think that's
what I'm going to do now that I'm single.
Yep.
yeah. She's moving in on your woman there, Jacob.
There are some bills that come along with it.
It's fine as long as you're willing to pick up the paper.
Yeah.
I hear you.
We'll reach an agreement.
I hear you. Yeah, I was like...
There is a dowry for purchase.
Yeah.
Ryder, good luck with this. Put a rubber band on your wrist if you have to, but consider sitting down and talking to somebody therapeutically about it. It will speed up your morning process.
You obviously want to get it out.
Yeah, do it productively, but I'm glad that you're being aware of it. Good insight. You're being a good friend for recognizing this about yourself.
Yes.
And just being intentional about it. So, and sometimes writing down a list of other things to talk about and keeping that in your phone, that can be really helpful too. That way when you feel yourself naturally going in that direction because something reminded you of it, open up your phone, look at your notes, and be like, oh, have you seen Oppenheimer? Like just anything else. So
yeah.
Oppenheimer.
I think sometimes people get
Reminds me
weird
of
about like forcing, like when you say get your phone out, write down things to kind of talk about with your friend. I don't know if it's a generational thing. I feel like it happens more with younger people, but they get weird about stuff like that when it feels forced.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like, no, that's how change happens. Some things feel forced in the beginning. So even if it feels a little awkward, like, why do I have to write down something to remember? But it's like,
Fake
no,
it till you make it.
Yes, it's okay to do that. You don't have to do it forever. It will become natural. But like, you're just trying to stretch that. So I just want to throw that out there in case anyone's feeling like that's weird to write down like stuff to talk to your friends about. It's not.
No.
It's not weird at all.
Not at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, okay.
All right. We're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about social work stress.
Oh my God, I'm an expert at that.
There it is. You're listening to Pod Therapy.
Today's episode is brought to you by Ben Dunn, Little Leah, Richard Macy, Sunny Boy, University Jeff, Samantha Cohn, Thunder Cougar, Falcon Scoop, Slurpy Kai Motherfucker, and Sandra McWaffle. And if you'd like to hear this episode uncut, God damn it. Would you like to sponsor the show? Become a therapy producer at patreon.com/therapy. That's why I can't do things off memory.
Buddy, you're doing so
Because
love it.
everything mixes together. All right, so we had some trivia sent in. Actually, we got 2 trivia sent in.
Is any of it president related?
No.
No.
I remember last year I was really good at president trivia.
Who's the president?
Donald Trump.
Whoa, legitimately?
You mean who's pulling the strings?
Yeah.
All right. So we had two sent in, so we're going to get one today and one next week.
Cool.
This one's from Ben Stanley, who apparently we've been doing too good with trivia.
I think so.
Because now he wants to really...
Hard stuff.
He's done with our kitty
Quantum physics.
Yeah.
No.
Fuck.
3 questions.
What's a quark?
Loser
No.
gets shot
This
in the
is
head.
Shakespeare.
Oh,
Oh,
fuck.
boy.
Lysistrata.
Well, obviously Jacob's
I'm just going to say
fucking
Tempest
win.
for all.
Yeah.
I don't even know.
Jacob actually,
Yeah,
unironically knows Shakespeare.
He was reading Shakespeare when I got here today.
He writes me sonnets
Okay.
sometimes.
3 questions
While
with
wearing
one
bonnets.
follow-up.
Oh, shit.
Okay.
So possible 6 points?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
First question, need to buzz in.
Oh, okay.
Which Shakespeare play is this quote from?
Wait, are you buzzing too?
I guess I can't because
Okay. You can see
yeah,
the
so
answers.
I can't, but I can't buzz in and read the question. So
No, you just had a slight disadvantage.
yeah, I think so. Here it is. To be or not to be, that is the
Buzz.
question.
Hamlet.
Nice. See, I'm letting
Hopefully
you, I'm
that's
letting
the
you
question.
get to it.
Hopefully that was the question. Is the question always going to be which play?
Hamlet.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, at the end it'd be funny.
That's
like,
what he said. That's what he said the
Who's the
answer
author? Like, fuck. Is
Hamlet.
okay, so the questions are always going to be the play.
I don't know.
We
This
don't
one
know
is.
yet. We're
I don't
gonna
know.
see.
I just lucked out.
We're
on
winging
No,
it.
he just said what the fucking question was. You knew what that
It
one
said
was.
which Shakespeare.
And he's still
You got
stressed
it
about
right.
it.
Go
that.
with
I'm just going to hang out. It's
Yeah.
fine.
Accept
Christ.
your
I'm
win.
just not used to winning, guys.
Take
I'm
yes for
very
an answer.
excited. I don't want to lose.
Hypervigilant over
Okay.
here.
Yeah.
Follow-up question on bees. Which bee? Oh, I see. To be or
Oh,
not
I
to
like
be.
it.
Follow-up question on bees. Which bee does not exist? Number 1, leafcutter bee. 2, stingless bee. 3, carpenter bee. 4, polyester bee.
Buzz.
Fuck.
D.
Oh, that was going to
4?
be my guess.
Yeah. Polyester B.
Do we all
Okay.
throw in on that, or how does that work?
Can I buzz for the second guess?
Well,
yeah,
he's
I think,
buzzing, I guess.
No, we don't have to buzz in for this one.
Oh,
Yeah, because
okay.
it's multiple choice.
I already
multiple
fucking buzzed.
Oh.
All right,
Okay.
so he's taken.
And then there's
which
one more, which is...
It's a B question. You have to buzz.
You
which
took,
is-
Right? Duh.
okay.
but
So you took polyester bee.
Yeah.
and 5 is cement bee.
Idiot.
Oh,
there was a fifth
5.
one.
Ah,
God, take it, Whitney.
don't
Take
I feel
5.
silly?
I'm going to
Take
go
cement.
carpenter bee because I don't think that's a bee.
That's
Okay.
That's definitely a B. The carpenter bee is for sure a B.
Stupid. It's just like obviously a
already
fucking bee.
I'm going to take cement.
Idiot.
Yeah, no, it just
Good. Jim was already mad this show. Now Nick's mad.
Yeah. I'm going to take
fun game.
leaf cutter because I remember there being a leaf
Was
cutter
that A?
ant.
Because A was going to be
I think it's a leaf cutter ant. I don't
there
think
is
it's
a leaf cutter.
bee.
Yeah, I think you might be right.
Let's see what
okay.
happens. All
Okay.
right, let's
I
get
said
it.
cement. I'm
She's
sticking
taking
with it.
cement bee.
It is cement bee.
Yeah, good for you.
Oh.
That's
That was
solid.
the
Although
whiskey
there is a
guessing.
mason bee that loves to build its nests with mud or masonry products.
Oh, a
That should
masonry.
count. That should obviously count.
It doesn't.
I'm really angry about that.
Okay.
Wow, so the other bees are real. The polyester bee.
What does that do?
You
I don't know.
What
He's
was the
well-dressed.
first one? Was that the leaf cutter?
All right, what's the
Yeah,
next
leaf
one?
cutter.
Okay.
No, that's it. Then we got to wait.
Oh,
for
the next
the
one, the next break.
commercial.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Alright.
Yep.
Wow, so I'm winning, right?
No, it's 1-1.
you're tied with me.
She gets
Yeah.
a full point for the bonus question?
Yes.
Full point.
I thought it was just
Game's
second
rigged.
question.
Yeah.
It was an and
You're
B.
tied winning, Jim.
Ha.
Oh, that's right.
I even let you get to be or not to be. I knew that one as soon as he said
Yeah.
to be.
I was like, this seems obvious.
Yeah.
And then I was like, but I'll wait.
You know what? I will take your pity. I do not mind. Social work.
I think I could probably do most of that soliloquy.
Ooh, let's hear
I think I
it.
still
want to
know
hear
most
it.
of it.
Ready?
No.
That's a
Oh.
Patreon
Yeah.
content.
Okay,
You got to do that at the
okay.
end.
You got to
At
pay
the
for
end.
that.
Yeah, that's right. You want to hear sonnets out of Jacob's ass. You got to pay
a
the
sonnet.
piper.
It's not
What
a sonnet.
I don't fucking know what sonnet is. I'm trying to use it in a sentence to seem smart.
Yeah.
You know?
At least
I didn't
you
really think
pronounced
I'd
it
get fucking
correctly.
called out. You know, of course I don't know what it is.
Sonnet.
Why are you calling me out on it? Just let me go. Social work stress from Anonymous. Hey, y'all. I started working as a social worker a few months ago, and I love it so far. I feel like I've been doing well with maintaining a healthy work-life balance. When the clock hits 5, I close my laptop, and I won't look at my emails until the next day. And I do my best not to think too much about my caseload. I've been able to not feel stressed outside of work, but I wanted to see if you had any advice on managing stress during the workday. When I get a call or email about a crisis, my heart races in anxiety and I just feel so stressed. I really care about these families and want to do my best to help, though sometimes my best isn't going to be enough to fix all of the problems they are experiencing. Some of the cases just make me sad, to be honest. I'll have a case with children who have been abused or a child who watched their parent commit suicide, and sometimes I start to curl up into an existential ball of dread, thinking about how horrible the world is. Of course, it's not always like this. Most of the time, I'm just doing paperwork or regular checkup meetings, and I have some great families on my caseload. But I can see how social work has a horrible burnout rate. Any advice on how I can not get so overwhelmed or affected during the workday would be great. Thanks, Anonymous.
Well, my joking but also kind of serious answer to this is just do a good job and they'll promote you out of it.
Don't worry. You won't be doing therapy for very long.
Yeah, you'll be doing administrative
The best
work,
therapists stop doing therapy.
And it sounds like she may not be doing therapy.
Well, yeah.
Like case management.
It sounds like case management or community mental health.
But either way,
stuff.
Same rules apply. Do a good job and then you'll move into administration.
But I really relate to this, and this is something I've been catching myself on lately, and I'll bet you both relate to this to some extent. I actually keep track of all the sessions I've ever done. Do you ever keep like a running tally of how many?
Because I'd be scared, but no.
For me, it was a very profound thing because I was really curious if I had hit 10,000 sessions.
You have like a bedpost, don't you? That you just
mine's
I have notches. Yeah,
whatever Jim's is, mine's more. No,
probably. Just want you all to know I've got more than Jim. Whatever it is.
Kidding.
But yeah, like after all those sessions, I have realized recently that doing this much therapy, and you're constantly, nobody comes to therapy because they're on a winning streak. Something bad's happening. It probably has caused me to see the world differently. I think it's caused me to just think, I don't know, like in this negative glass half empty, everybody I meet, something's wrong, and like constantly like looking for the problem. I don't know, but I've noticed that like it's made me weird about making friends or socializing. Like when I meet new people, I'm kind of sizing them up and finding things about them. And I don't like that. I just want to be friends. I just want to be like, let's do a thing. You know what I mean? But like, it sucks.
Yeah. I resist that by purposefully not asking, like, because it's very natural to fall into the certain questioning, I feel like, with new people, because you're like, oh, I'm getting to know you. But it's like, how was your childhood? Like,
right.
You know what
You're
I
running
mean?
a fucking intake.
No,
So
I
where'd
know.
you grow up? Your parents divorced?
Yeah, where are you from? You moved around a lot? Okay.
I have this quick screening tool here. If you
I'm just
wouldn't
gonna
mind.
email
So like
it
how
to
many
you real
drinks a
quick.
week do you have?
Yeah.
What?
I noticed
like-
that you introduced yourself as Andy. Does it make you uncomfortable if people call you Andrew?
Yeah.
So I will, when I catch myself falling into that, because I am kind of curious, it's kind of what drives you to be a therapist. You're like, I want to know what's going on in there. And it helps me feel more comfortable to know what's going on in there. And I'll just be like, nope, we're keeping it surface level. Or until
Right.
it
You'll
naturally
intentionally not
falls
do
in.
that.
But
Yeah.
I'll just purposefully not ask those digging questions when my instinct is like, ask it.
Right.
Like, no.
At some point, you'll just realize that you don't give a shit, and this will just fall away.
Well, and here's the
I think
thing.
this problem will fix itself.
I think the real challenging piece here is, like with a lot of the folks that I've worked with, I definitely have empathy for their situation, and it sucks that they're in that situation, and I don't, especially like with addiction, they need to take responsibility for their behaviors. But then I also understand too that this is actually a disorder, and it's a brain disorder, and we need to treat it as such. But I think that little bit of personal responsibility does help me deal with that. That all goes out the window when you're talking about working with kids.
Right.
Yes.
Because that is really difficult because they are truly victims of their environment. They have no control over anything. Just whatever happens, that's what they're left with. And that, I think, significantly contributes to burnout for social workers.
gosh.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
I've had to stop. Yeah, I can't work with kids. And I remember the last session I had, the one that I was like, I remember going downstairs and talking to my spouse and saying, I'm done. Like, I'll never work with another kid again. And it was, just a really sad case, right? Really sad things, bad, scary things happening to a child and you're like, how the fuck am I supposed to therapy this? Like, all I can do is bear witness to this and then try to balance you telling me scary things that are really hard with bringing you back out of that to get back to a surface level so you can be a kid, but then also giving you permission to open up about this and also knowing when I'm supposed to react and not react, which is a fucking razor's edge of responsibility. To know when you should just like hold space for that person and let them continue to open up, or now you have to react as part of the human administration of government. And like, what do you do? So I really relate to the writer. This is always hard.
I mean, even kids, young kids, young teenagers or whatever that are just acting like complete assholes, like to some degree, you're just kind of like, okay, but like what chance did this kid ever have?
Right.
Like they've never had any breaks go their way. So like, I'd be an asshole too,
Right.
So it does make it really difficult and very challenging, but.
Just so you know, writer, that child that Jim gave up on, that child was Adolf Hitler.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the time machine thing.
Jim could have stopped it.
Looking back, 2020.
Yeah. But he told his wife, he said, I'm not up to stopping Hitler.
Yeah, I told the kid, get into art, veganism, write a book.
His name was
Write out
Andrew
your thoughts.
Hitler.
No, he's like, I really struggle with this kid, but he's got some good ideas.
Yeah.
He's really smart.
I mean, you should really hear him talk about how to deal with like reparation justice and it's just a lot of economic theory.
He has this whole highway system.
Yeah, it's just the Autobahn is solid, and I think it's okay to say that. I don't think that has anything to do with the very sensitive topics that bother so many people.
Yeah, my go-to, and Nick brings up a very valid point. Like, I would have to basically respond differently based on the teens or early teens that I work with. But as far as like young adults and older adults, when they come to you with even frustrating things like non-addiction issues where they are still not motivated to change. I'm thinking of a particular case in my mind for myself. I started taking on the responsibility to change them. Like I could see it in myself over time. So just being very transparent as a therapist, it gets
that has
you
to be
worked
common,
up.
right?
Yeah.
Has to be.
I hope so. I hope other therapists out there have
everybody's
dealt with
cringing
that.
going, oh
like,
God, she's really bad at this.
Right. So and this is kind of the way that I've always framed it. Here's another Nick analogy.
I love Nick analogies. Somebody make a jingle.
I always kind of view my role as like the therapist as like helping someone, like just kind of their mental and emotional Sherpa. Like I help them up the mountain. Like if they're doing the climbing, I'm the guy holding the rope at the bottom. Like I can say, hey, okay, you've got a handhold up here at 2:00 if you can reach that. I'm giving them advice,
but they're not taking it.
Right,
yeah, and I can't pull them up the mountain.
Right.
I can't pull the rope. They're gonna fall. They're gonna make mistakes. I can do my best to catch them if they fall.
Help you step aside.
Exactly, but that's it. Like, and so I think it's for me, it was a lot about recognizing the limits of my abilities.
So,
like I can contribute here, here, and here, and that's it.
Yeah.
That's all I can do.
Yeah. What I asked a colleague about this at the time. I'm like, man, I can feel myself getting to that point where I'm feeling more invested in the client than maybe the client is for different reasons. I don't think they're purposefully relying on me, but I think they were in some ways acting helpless. Like that was their comfort zone. I don't, again, not even manipulatively, but that's just where their comfort was.
Learned behavior, sure.
And so being able to talk through with them, like the biggest thing or the thing that stuck out to me the most was this colleague of mine sharing with me, like, you are not responsible for their success. You are only there to guide and help, like Nick said in his analogy. Like I'm going to hold the rope. I'm going to give you maybe some instruction sometime. I'm going to ask questions. Motivational interviewing is very helpful with those clients. Like I have been working on practicing that to hone in for certain clients in that aspect, but really dig into motivational interviewing to get them to realize the change they need to make. Because when you start to realize or believe that you're taking on the responsibility of their progress, I mean, that's like a flag. You need to step back and just say.
This is a Nickism that I've stolen. One of many things I've stolen from Nick, including his pants.
Is that why he's not wearing any today?
Yeah. Also,
one of the reasons
they were snakeskin, and somebody needed to just stop that.
Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. Peter and I just watched literally yesterday the SNL skit with the leather man, and he has snakeskin in there, and there's rattlesnakes. Anyway, just Google it. The leather man on YouTube SNL has like Jimmy Fallon in it. Anyway, go on.
I don't know that one.
Sorry, snakeskin. Go on.
Nick, you have a bunch of sayings. One of them, though, that I've stolen from you and I've adapted into various other ways of saying it is I can't work harder for your recovery than you do, right? I will match you. I will be there with you, but I'll never run ahead of you on this. I can't, right? Because it's yours. And if I take ownership of it, it's not yours anymore. And I've adapted that away from recovery into a million other things.
I'm sure helplessness mentality is really strong in addiction and recovery, right?
And also it goes back to stages of change, which is one of these things that I feel is woefully undertaught in therapy training.
Yeah.
It's something I've been like banging the drum about at UNLV. Like I want every student to understand that because I feel like you have that map. Boy, does that change the way you approach every case.
I feel like that's only applied in substance use when I was in training. And I see it all the time. I'd be like, oh, yeah, they're like,
well,
not
so
in
is motivational interviewing.
Yeah.
It's really an adaptation out of substance abuse. And it's like, again, substance abuse therapy, I don't think gets the credit it deserves as a historical discipline, but also as a place where you have to come up with really smart fucking therapy skills to break that population and do the work.
Yes.
And those skills, when you take them out into, non-substance abuse land, it's like, fucking playing wiffle ball with a goddamn lead bat. Like I'm just smacking them over the fence. Because like if you train in substance abuse, the shit you've trained to do and the techniques you've had to do and the populations you've had to work with are hard as fuck.
Yeah.
And then you get over here and you start working with somebody else and you're like whipping out MI and like moving them through the layers and they're like, Jesus, you're a really good therapist. Like, no, I just trained with weights.
Yeah.
Like, that's all. I climbed the mountain with a fucking letter on my, But no, that's a great bit. And I think that's exactly true. Like knowing about their stage of change and helping them kind of, motivate to go through it. Like with couples, I'll like, look, I can't care about your marriage more than you do. It's like if you came here hoping that I would throw you both over my shoulders and fucking deliver you, I can help, but you've got to want to do it.
I mean, ultimately, the thing is like if I give 100%, the client gets 100, give us 100%, then we're doing good.
Things go quick when that happens.
Yeah, and if the client is going to give 75%, okay, then I'll give 75%. Right. But the moment I put in 76, then they drop down to 74.
Oh yeah, they'll drop.
Yeah, and so then it becomes very quick to realize that you're the one doing all the work. But I like the thing that you said, Whitney, about like taking credit for the success. And that's one thing I would always tell my interns this too, is like, if a client does amazingly well in treatment and they do great and they go out and they have accomplished 10 years of recovery, don't take credit for that.
Right.
Because if you take credit for the successes, you got to take blame for the failure.
Yeah, this is what I was about to ask you. Because like Whitney's talking about kind of talking to cohorts and saying like, you got to be able to step back from this.
Yeah.
It's got to almost be more difficult to not take credit for the success, though, right?
Yeah.
I
think it's very important. Yeah, I mean, because and this is why you kind of have to disassociate and you kind of have to realize like I was a part of it. I played a role, and I helped guide them. I gave them some direction. But they're doing the work. Yeah. The results come from the work. They don't come from my directions. They come from the work that's done.
I'd say the majority of therapists go the other way with it. I rarely will meet a therapist who says, I'm responsible for their win.
Yeah.
But I'll meet almost every therapist who really deeply feels responsible for the failure.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, that's so true. Yeah.
And I think that's why you kind of have to disassociate from both sides. Yeah. I don't think you can't do one and not the other. Like if you take on that, you got to take on both.
Right. Yeah. I like that.
Yeah, it's
Well, back in the catalog, it's probably years ago. So, writer for $1, you can get into the Patreon, and if you go into this episode thread, other listeners, I'm giving you a challenge. First one to figure out where there's an episode about compassion fatigue and post the link to that. You will win Jim posting a GIF somehow to what you've done and celebrating your victory. It'll be Manu. She's just gonna win, like it's always Manu. But yeah, there's an episode in the catalog about compassion fatigue. And this is something where I think we had another therapist write in about dealing with, I think, trauma work And we had to talk about vicarious trauma. And, this job has a very high burnout rate. It does, as all healthcare professions do.
Yeah.
But ours is, I think, different because other professions can see these scary things and touch scary things and like wash their hands, and they don't necessarily feel that they're taking it home with them. But we can't unhear what we've heard. And, it is draining. And I think especially with this writer's talking about. You found it?
Yep.
Okay, I'm posting a gift in my mind.
Thank you.
Now you have to put it on the Discord after the episode posts.
I don't know how to do it.
You don't have that kind of discipline. Nor do you know how to do it.
I don't know how to do it. I'm not able to do
will
it.
still win.
Manu's still got a solid move here.
Jake.
But no, this is a thing, like, I think in the profession where, depending, and it doesn't matter what you do, like, even if you're doing, out-of-network private practice, and you're thinking, like, oh, these guys have the choice life. They're not hearing the scary things. Bullshit, we're absolutely hearing scary things. Like, that's always happening. It's just people who don't use insurance at dealing with scary shit, So, like, it's always that stuff. But, like, these things are really, really hard. And whenever you're constantly barraged with that over and over and over again, like the writer says, you hit that Sunday night dread where you're like, oh my God, what's going to happen this week?
Yeah.
Or you get that text message, or especially when you're case managing and stuff, and you're working with foster families, right?
Yep.
And then like
that's
you're
how
getting
I started case
the
management,
message from the
then
foster
therapy.
family. It's like, oh my God, this scary thing has happened with this kid. And it's like, all right, you're the therapist on duty, get in there. And it's like, fuck, like, okay, here we go. And a lot of what you do is crisis management.
Yeah. And when we're talking about kids, which I'm assuming the client, did they
there was a
mention
lot of
kids?
mention
Families,
of kid
kids,
cases.
yeah. I'm hesitant to say this way, but it is the truth. Like, you just have to tell yourself in your mind, like, I've helped all that I can. And if this kid goes through terrible shit, like, there's nothing you can do to, you've done everything you can to change it, or you know what I mean, within your power. If they're going through abuse, you've reported it. If you're the one dealing with the report from abuse, you've done everything you can within your power to follow up with it.
Yeah.
And the world just isn't fair, and it's really shitty, and that kid has dealt that hand, and you've just done what you can.
The other thing is to remember that you didn't cause this mess. You did your best to clean it up.
Yep.
And that's.
And another, I think, burden that we face, especially in what it appears the therapist here is describing, which sounds kind of like foster family support and things like that, or community mental health. It's amazing, and this is something that my students have really struggled with, is they're like waiting for a grown-up. And a lot of times they'll come to me and be like, so like, when is a grown-up going to come and take control of the situation? And we're trying to explain to them, like, you're it.
You're the grown-up.
You're the grown-up. Like, you're the mental health expert in the room. They're like, I should not be trusted with any of this. And we're like, yeah, we could baby you and come in and do this for the rest of your career. But the truth is there's not enough of us.
Yeah.
That'll never work. And you're going to end up like this social worker where you're it. And these wounded people in bad situations are turning to you and saying, solve this.
Yeah.
And it's very natural to internalize all that responsibility and develop a hero complex where you're like, I have to save the day.
Yeah.
And when you don't, you're like, oh my God, I failed them. You
Yeah.
know, or I didn't do enough.
I think that's interesting. I think Nick said this earlier, or maybe Jim did, I can't remember, but I think it is interesting that when it comes to the wins, we're like, no, that was all my client. But yeah, when they're failing, it's like, no, I have to throw the life raft. I have to get them saved. It's all on me now if they fail. But the wins were like, no, it was the client. They did all the work.
Right. What a good job.
And you never know who will follow up. I don't know if you've had this experience, Nick, from like being in foster care, and you have different aspects of foster care that you were involved in than I was. But I had a client social worker reach out to me a couple years ago through Facebook Messenger. And they were like, hey, I got permission from the client I'm working with, or the kid I'm working with, who is like late teens, let me count the year, mid-teens at this point. And they were like, they remember you as their therapist. I mean, this kid was like 8, I think, when I worked with them, or 9, and at the place we worked. And they're like, are you okay if he reaches out to you? Now, I'm the worst at Facebook Messenger. I like check Facebook once a month or something. Like,
you're better.
So I am. I'm not mad about it, but I am sad when I miss stuff. So it would have been a couple weeks. I was like, oh,
that's
my gosh.
why I have the Messenger app.
I do now. I have the Messenger app now, but
so
not
I get
Facebook.
That's fine.
Yes.
Yeah. You don't need the fucking Facebook
because it's
app.
just a texting app, right? Yeah. No, I switched to that, and I am still better for it. And I still muted even the notifications.
Oh yeah, that's fine.
Like it.
That's why I haven't replied to any of my messages.
Oh,
yeah,
is
yeah,
that
that's
you
why.
that requested service?
So I also send them through text and email. So
That was like
I guess this Facebook thing. Is
very
really
mysterious picture.
It's it's because the name
it's blurred because
name-
I'm a gentleman.
It's a
the name
close up
he
of his
uses
mustache.
is
that's
Dr. The name he uses is Dr. Dick Pic.
Yeah,
That's
Dr.
That's why I
Dick
silenced
Pic,
it.
PhD.
Liberty Dick Pic, PhD.
But I thought it was so interesting because part of you wonders if like your clients remember you or no. And there were things this kid went through at the time. I was like, oh, if I could see into your future, it's like they were. There was just a lot going on there. And I was like, all right. But I just sat with them and tried to be a support person for them. And you leave in the evening after you've met with them. I met with him in his foster home. Like, I'd leave for the evening. You're like, I hope it works out, till I see him next week.
Yep.
Right.
And they were like, hey, they remember you. And like, would you be okay if they contacted you or something? I was like, oh my God. Like, and it's just one.
Yeah.
Only
You weren't
one.
okay with them contacting you. You were like, fuck no.
No.
I was like,
Right.
Ew. I let go of you for a reason.
I know.
I think that the compassion fatigue and like bracing yourself for it comes with experience. I think that the longer you're in the chair, the more you start to, out of a necessity to survive, have the ability to sort of end the conversation and the meeting and find other things and just let go of those. It is always harder when there's particular cases that are your kryptonite. Like for me, it's kids. For a lot of us, I think it's kids because it's a very special population. But, it's a very heavy thing. And I think at some point it just happens, I guess. I mean, I try to think like, was there a specific technique? And I've heard other therapists talk about things they've picked up from mentors that have allowed them to sort of wash it off at the end of the day. Some of them have a closing down ritual, like in their office, like as they clean up and do their notes, or sometimes doing the notes is itself sort of turning this into an administrative task that's allowing me to sort of wash my brain of it, put it here, freeze it in this document, and I've taken all the steps I need to take. But yeah, I mean,
I would just throw my computer out the window and then get a new one the next day.
Yeah, fresh start.
Very therapeutic.
It's expensive.
For Nick.
Well, the cloud really ruined that technique.
It did, because it's always there.
Can't get rid of it.
Now, I wouldn't be doing a very good job of a good representation of mental fit personal training if I didn't come in and say
plug
exercise.
Oh, there it is. Yeah.
It's for people with really high stress jobs. Doing cardio in the morning, there is a ton of research that shows how that helps.
Right.
So I definitely recommend anybody who has a job like that where there's a lot of high stress. You can do exercises in the evenings, and that's fine. That's always good. Any exercise is good exercise. However, doing it in the morning actually has shown to really stabilize your cortisol levels throughout the rest of the day when you're talking about stress. And so there's a lot of research that backs that. So give that a thought. Start your day off with, if you're into running, do a run, do a 20 minutes HIIT exercise, do 30 minutes of steady state cardio with walking, do something like that just to get your heart racing, work up a little bit of a sweat, get ready for work, do that. That'd be my recommendation.
Audiobooks and podcasts, I think, were my escape. Like, I would get those in my head, and now I'm not thinking about my cases anymore. I'm in sci-fi land.
I use a lot more avoidance techniques, like Jim, too. I mean, I literally am like, what's my little comfort zone here? And let me just go over there.
I also have a live webcam in Nick's house, so I watch him work out. And that's
vicariously
really
through Nick.
It gets my
Studies have shown that really stabilizes its cortisol levels.
Yeah.
Can
my
you share
cortisol levels
Can you share that link
rock
with me?
hard. Yeah, they're so hard. And so, I do much better. Also, get yourself a good life coach. I think that's always a good
if
move.
you can find one.
If you can afford one.
I mean, afford it.
You got to hunt them down.
It's catch of the day with those
like
life
lobster.
That's right. I think that life coach fee, it should be like indexed to something. Like indexed to fucking snow crab. Yeah. Whatever. It's available, but if you can afford it.
I mean, you can get it.
Yeah. You can get whatever you want. This is America, but this is a price. Ryder, good luck with this. You're in good company. A lot of us support you and relate to you on this. It's part of the reality, but love that you're out there doing it. Love that you're really passionate. Love that you haven't lost that sensitivity. those are assets. They really are. And, over time in your career, I know you're in the first, part of your career, you do learn to preserve that empathy while also developing a little bit of a shield system so that you don't carry this stuff.
Last thing I'll say, it is also important, and maybe just a healthier reminder, that building that shield does not mean you don't care.
Yeah.
Right. No, not at all. Not at all.
That's
a lot of
very
validation to that statement.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just the gloves. We put those on, we do the work. We need to be able to do that. But thank you for writing in. We are going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're talking about finding a therapist of the future. Ooh. You're listening to Pod Therapy.
Today's episode is brought to you by Ben Dunn, Malia, Richard Macy, Sonny Boy, University Jeff, Samantha Cone, Thunder, Cougar, Falcon, Scoop, Slurpee Motherfucker, and Sandra McWaffle.
Yeah.
If you want to become a sponsor of the show, head on over to therapy, patreon.com/therapy, and sign up to become a producer. I'm good.
I'm good at stuff.
I do stuff.
did
I
it.
can read like
It's only
a
been
big
6
boy.
years. It's not
I
that
know.
long.
Well, because I write it. I have it all written down, but I don't read
we
it.
should test next.
I just do it from memory.
Oh, that would be
and then
fun. If we
I
didn't
wanna
have
see.
scripts one episode and we just
shit.
had
or
to
just
wing
let
it,
Jim look at
and
it.
we just see how well we do without scripts.
I want to
do
try
it.
that.
Jesus, that's terrifying.
You're both two
It
in your
is.
head.
It is.
I
You-
want to see it.
I feel like I have it way worse than you. The ending is hard, man. But then again,
Well, you made
the
it
ending has
that
been
way.
wrongly written for about 4 years, and I've been mostly
wing it
winging
every time,
Yeah,
so,
so
yeah,
you
it's
guys
fine.
wouldn't know if I'm right or wrong.
No.
Like, fuck
Yeah.
it, the script's bad anyway.
We know when you're wrong.
That's true.
All right.
From Fabulous Las Vegas.
First one to buzz in. Which Shakespeare play
You hear this, Jim? Which Shakespeare play?
Got it.
is this quote from?
I'm fucked.
What's in a name? That which we call
Buzz.
a
Fuck!
I did it first.
Okay.
Wait, they-
Romeo and Juliet.
Shit.
Yes.
Damn it.
Would a rose
Leonardo
by any other
DiCaprio.
name?
That's
Yes,
why.
and Claire Danes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And John Leguizamo, by the way.
Yes,
Yeah, fucking crushes roles.
The Pest.
I know! Nobody remembers The Pest!
No, I knew Jim
The Pest
would.
was bomb!
I knew Jim would.
Oh, fuck yeah! Oh,
Jim and I
good
weirdly
reference,
connect on
Whitney.
movies.
Yes.
Follow-up question. Which of these
damn, that movie was
films
good.
was not based on... I forgot to unhighlight this. Sorry, I didn't
On
realize.
Romeo and Juliet.
Yeah, that makes sense. Which one of these films was not based on Romeo and Juliet?
Oh, wow.
Okay, so no buzzing.
1. No buzzing. West Side Story. Love is All There Is. Sliding Doors. Warm Bodies.
Damn it.
God damn.
I've seen one of those.
So
I
West
know.
Side Story's the obvious one.
Yeah,
right? Like,
yeah,
that's,
that one is. We all know.
throw that
one
away.
is.
That's definitely not based on Romeo and Juliet. Is that what you mean?
Yeah.
No,
Which
it
one
is.
is not?
bad.
I'm going to say...
West Side Story's not based on Romeo and Juliet.
I'm going to say Warm Bodies.
That's kind of what I was going to go with. I
Wait,
feel
are we
like
asking what is
No.
or isn't
Is
based on
Not.
Romeo and Juliet?
What is not
not.
based
What
on
was
Romeo
B
and
and-
Juliet?
D was sliding doors, or B
I think
was.
C was Sliding Doors.
D is Warm Bodies. And what's B?
I'm missing. one, I feel
Love
like.
Is All There Is,
I
1996.
Dude, I'll go with Love Is All There Is.
I'm gonna go with sliding doors.
I feel like Sliding Doors itself is like a Romeo Juliet metaphor.
I've
Like
never
these two
seen.
things
I've
moving
never seen any of these.
simultaneously.
Wow.
I'm
D?
just
Like
guessing.
parallel.
What was D?
Warm Bodies.
Great.
That's what I
I
got.
think that one is Romeo, and but I'm guessing.
Sliding Doors is correct.
Boom, bitches!
Wow.
Did I guess that?
Yeah, we'll give it to
Sorry.
you, Jacob.
Damn it. Damn it.
Whitney
She got two
with
on
the
that
lead.
one.
Yeah,
Ran
3
away.
to 1.
3-1.
Yeah, oh, shit. Is there even... Can
I
can
swept
come
that
back?
round.
There's a third one.
Yeah, there's a third question. You got to get.
And the third round, the answers are worth double.
There we go.
Sure.
Maybe even triple.
Yeah, fuck it.
We'll see how it goes.
Depends on how much whiskey Jacob has before now and then. Finding a therapist
Oh, it's up to me?
for the future. Oh, I guess I misread that. If someone knows they're going to have a tumultuous event coming up sometime in the future, but maybe years away,
I'd like to pause for a moment and encourage more people to use the word tumultuous
Yeah.
in their emails.
That was
Just
not-
make Jim
I was
say
like-
the word tumultuous.
Did I get it?
No,
What did I say?
I don't know, but it wasn't tumultuous.
If someone
I think
knows,
you had an R in there.
I think I did.
Tumultuous.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Tumultuous.
Okay, let me try again. If someone knows they're going to
More
have
big words in emails, everyone. More big words in emails.
I would love that.
Nice.
If someone knows they're going to have tumultuous events,
tumescent?
That's what I'm thinking.
Yep.
It's definitely that. These are all related.
This was written by 2 Chainz.
Coming up sometime in the future, but maybe years away, is there an advantage to finding a therapist that they can prepare for? Or maybe to develop a good rapport with them now so things will be smoother once trouble arises? Medical insurance-wise, is there any medical coding the doctor can submit to the insurance that is something like, just getting a baseline, or he's fine now, but shit's going to hit the fan later? Is looking for a therapist who's accepting new patients now going to get me past the not accepting new patients issue later? That's a really good question.
Oh, that's actually that's the best argument I've heard so far.
So here's my background. My wife has cancer. At the start of treatment, they gave out stats like 21% of patients survive past 5 years. And since then, they've found that the preferred, most often effective treatment isn't working. If these alternate treatments they're trying now don't work, or if she opted to stop them, they are looking at more like 2 to 4 years of survival. The effects of the cancer are already changing our lives. She can't walk without mobility aids, has trouble transitioning in and out of chairs, can't drive with the pain medication, etc. But on the other hand, things are sort of fine for now. The help she needs from me is relatively simple tasks. Pick up this item I dropped, throw this basket of clothes in the laundry. And since I mostly work from home and the kids have just left the house to start living on their own, I have the time and attention to give her. It's likely to get worse over the next few years, and when she dies, it will blow a big, giant hole in my world. We met as teenagers and have been together nearly 40 years. Her not being around is going to be a challenge, but that challenge isn't here yet. So, what role does therapy have in the handling of issues that don't exist yet but are bound to arrive someday? Thanks, Anonymous.
They do exist.
Isn't that just anxiety?
You're in it right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
What do you mean when it happens?
Yeah.
Like it's happening.
You're already doing it.
This is happening.
Yeah.
So I think
I think the whole this is not happening yet, but this is going to happen. I'm preparing for it. That's moot. That's out the door.
Yeah, I definitely, and by the way, Ryder, I'm very sorry to hear about this.
I
This is
literally
terrible.
teared up
Yeah.
listening through that the first time. I cannot.
Yeah. And this is, but I get what you're saying in the sense that you are preparing for the huge thing that's going to happen. Yeah. I mean, and I think because you're preparing for the big stuff, you're maybe not tuned in to the little stuff that's happening, and the little stuff is significant stuff. So I don't think, as far as we've never had a question about this before, as far as hey, should I, get a therapist now in case I need one later? Interesting question, but I don't think that's your case right now. I think you could speak to a therapist, assuming your medical insurance covers it. The therapist could render a diagnosis, most likely, and would be able to bill your insurance for it, most likely. It wouldn't, I'll ask the two currently therapists.
You want me to diagnose someone?
No.
I'm just kidding.
You want Whitney and I to talk about this?
The two in the room.
Jacob already gave him one.
Yeah.
Sorry, the three in the room.
Yeah, the
Successfully employed.
licensed.
Currently seeing patients, but
Right.
I don't think any of you would have a problem right now being able to render a diagnosis given what the writer has written in.
Absolutely.
I don't think that would be a problem.
Yeah.
And by the way, I'm not saying diagnosis because we want to pathologize anything. I'm saying diagnosis because that's what
To validate
insurance needs. In order to get
So
reimbursement.
I had a case like this. It is to date one of the most difficult experiences I ever had as a therapist, and one of the most beautiful, and it is exactly this scenario. I had worked with a patient for a while. for addiction recovery and just trying to get right about some things. But he had fallen into alcoholism in large part due to a bad cancer diagnosis and his spouse not having the tools to deal with that. And so initially our work was, let's get you healthy so you can be the husband and father that you want to be during this chapter of what's going on. So we were successful in that. And then, of course, the next challenge was the wife's changing health, and very similar to this letter where it's just bad report after bad report, and crossing fingers and hoping for this new treatment or that new treatment, and unfortunately coming back with stagnant or worse results. So we got to a place where the patient had brought in his wife because she was going through a lot of anxiety, and it was a profound experience for me as a therapist because I had such a rapport with this guy and had really come to care about him. And he was bringing me his dying wife to help her not suffer as much as she was going to be suffering. And that was a strange place to be because she wasn't going to become my individual patient where we were going to start working on this. He just wanted to help her. And she was very open to it, very grateful. And we started doing some CBT, but then I realized CBT isn't equipped for this.
Mm-hmm.
Like
No.
in CBT, we are trying to eliminate false assumptions of your reality. You're facing death.
Yeah, your assumptions are pretty much right on.
Aaron Beck's done. Yeah, Aaron Beck doesn't have a chapter about this. He's here for people that are falsely assuming danger. You are staring down the barrel of a loaded gun. Mm-hmm. And they're counting down. All we can do is begin the process of grieving and acceptance. So I ended up taking the case and working with them, now transitioning away from just the husband to working with them as a couple, and also meeting individually with the husband. And the new paradigm shift in this case, Ryder, was to begin the grieving process while also being very intentional with the years that we still had. And being very thoughtful about that. How do you want to handle this? How do you want to be as a husband, as a father? Where are you bumping into emotions and questions about how to help your kids through this or what to do for your spouse? How to be intentional with making the memories that you can make. And just bringing that back into this space of therapy where we're trying to do life on purpose and be the best version of ourselves. And front load some coping skills and frankly, a really strong relationship so that when this event eventually happens, you don't feel completely alone. And that was a very interesting case as a therapist because eventually the husband and wife brought their children to me too, teenagers. And basically the wife entrusted me with her family and had basically told me that much of, well, Jim, I'm going to die. So I need you to take care of my people. And that was really an honor. And I'm glad as a therapist that we got to do that work leading into that event. And we prepared for it. We got right up to the month of. We had our final meetings. I kind of almost got to play the role of priest, to sort of give her space to say what she needed to say and facilitate those final things. And then we got to the end. And then afterward, we were there to continue our work now that we've experienced this real event. So, Ryder, I agree with what Nick said. You can absolutely begin this. And even though this may be 4 or 5 years away, I would recommend getting started. I appreciate the financial piece. And that was something that happened in our relationship, too. Cancer treatment is financially devastating. Even with insurance. It is absolutely horrific. I ended up treating this family for free. And that was something that I had worked with the husband for a while. And then when we turned this corner and I saw what was coming, I really didn't want that to be an issue anymore. And so that was just a decision that was made. And so that, you can't guarantee that any therapist is going to necessarily have that as an option. But I would recommend, like Nick said, you can justify treatment now for insurance reasons, and I would recommend it And of course, my sincerest hope is that that treatment would just never be interrupted. But I don't see any reason why we can't get started now. And that may be intermittent, right? Because you might do 6 months with this therapist and then let them know, I'm going to take a break. Can I have permission to come back to you? Because obviously my life's going to continue to change. And I think most therapists would be like, yep.
For sure.
Yep. Give me a call. You will go straight to the top of the list and we will get that done. So I would recommend getting it going now.
Yeah, absolutely. I kind of 2 thoughts on this. One, just the general question of can you seek out therapy like pre an event? As you're reading through that, especially the first time, I'm like, what could possibly be an event that you like think you need to build rapport first before going into? But I actually did have a client once who was pregnant and was worried about postpartum.
Oh, okay.
And so
interesting.
That was kind of a challenge because they're like, well, I don't really have much current. I mean, they had some transitional things I could like grasp at some straws for their insurance to sort of make work for their situation. But they were like, I'm worried. And, how do I go about that? I want to meet for a few sessions before. They were like maybe 2 months shy of giving birth. So they were like towards the end and all of that. But I thought that was really interesting because it falls in that similar category of like, I want to be prepared for something that is a big fucking deal. Mm-hmm. We are talking about potential life and death. Postpartum can be very serious. And so it was great getting to work with her and create a plan and build rapport and just remind her we took a break, leading up to her giving birth so she could just focus on her medical stuff that she needed to do. Right. And I said, after you have your baby and all of that goes through is near the holidays too. So like you've done all that. You can always reach back out to me and let me know. But if you feel good, you feel good. It's all good. But if you find that you're having issues, like here's plan A, like your support system, plan B, reach out to me. And then plan C, we can go through from there. But so just touching on that kind of odd situation of can I reach out for therapy beforehand? It definitely depends on what you're dealing with. It sounds like, Ryder, that was my instinct, exactly what Jim and Nick said. You are in it.
Yes.
You're in the thick of it. Things have happened. And I mean, a thought that kind of came to my mind, Jim, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on it, are how much do you think is just the challenge of confronting the reality of the situation?
Right.
So I think deep down, and we see this in people with their own health, as we age, one of the most common things I see is people don't want to plan for when they die. Mm-hmm. So we're not even talking about like mental health, just where does your stuff go? Creating a will. I tend to see, at least right now, and that would be, I guess, more the boomer generation, them resisting planning. And I see this with friends. This is not like a client thing, but just friends are like, oh my God, my parent won't even talk about their death. And I'm like, what? Like, that is a mess if somebody passes and they have any, property or things they want to pass down. You have siblings. It's blended families nowadays, too. Right. There's a lot to that. And I see resistance in older adults wanting to talk about their death. And I kind of wonder, Ryder, for you, and I'd love to hear your input, Jim, like, do you think when the writer writes and is like, well, I'm not there now, but I will be, it's like, is a little bit of that almost like denial or resisting the acceptance of like, that means saying my spouse is going to die, or, it's like embracing that whole thought that might just be too overwhelming.
Could it also be part of, I don't want to burden my spouse with this thing as well?
Yeah.
I don't want to burden my spouse who is in ill health. They're already dealing with all this shit. And now I'm going to start going to therapy to deal with me dealing with your shit.
Right. Like, I need help with this when really they're the ones going through it all.
I mean, that just popped into my head. But I mean, that's heartbreaking. But I would bet money that's part of it.
I think that's something we do need to recognize. There's a legitimacy to the writer saying, thanks, guys. I guess I would qualify for therapy. I don't want to do it right now.
Yeah.
I just want to open the door so that future me doesn't get on a 3-month waiting list whenever I'm in crisis.
Either that, or even sometimes I know people can be so focused on helping the other person that they're not even recognizing what they're going through. So maybe it's just not even like, oh, I never even thought about like how it's affecting me right now.
That could be part of it.
Like, I'm not the one going through stuff. My spouse is. So that I don't need to see their
helpers are like that in a lot of ways, where they're just like their whole life becomes helping this other person that they just, it's almost kind of like you kind of miss. You're not even aware of what's happening internally.
I've seen it also. I mean, there's so many different variations of this, because I've also seen it where it's like, hey, I am fully aware that this horrific, terrible ending is going to come. And it won't be a gunshot. It's going to be this slog into the depths. I'm going to have plenty of suck. And right now, if I can have just good days, you just muted yourself. Previously, you did not. You yawned into the mic and then muted yourself.
Yeah.
Now it's on.
Now you're better. Yeah.
Now it's on. On.
Yeah.
There we go.
Thank you for that. But I've definitely seen it where people are like, look, I don't want a therapy on this right now because I want to enjoy 100% of every good day. But I have enough wisdom to know that the terror I am going to face in 3 years is going to require the work. And I just want to be somebody who feathers the nest to prepare for that. You know, just trying to.
You have a person you're comfortable talking to, not just I'm showing up and I'm vulnerable.
I think the way that you achieve that goal, Ryder, just to speak to your question, if this is what you want and we're going to respect your autonomy and your decision making, the way you access that therapist in 3 or 4 years when you need them is, I think, to be very frank with you, finding a private practice therapist that owns their own private practice. Because if you are finding a therapist at your local group, technically the average tenure of a therapist at a group is every 2 years. The statistic I saw, something to the effect of every 2 years, 50% of the workforce moves.
Holy shit.
It's insane, bro. It's insane. I got to show you some of the pages of data I've been gathering for that lecture series. It's nuts. But this is a huge one. Like, what? So if you're thinking to yourself, I'm going to go through crisis in 3 or 4 years, number one, you want to find somebody who like is in their own space, has their own practice. That's important. And then I think you can get in, like Whitney said, and start a conversation with them that says, here's what I'm facing. You say, okay, do you want to do something with me now? You can minimize that. You can say, I'd like to maybe start a few sessions just to kind of begin the process of looking at the next few years. And then I'd kind of like to have an established sort of open door policy with you where as needed from this point forward, but at my discretion, would that be cool? And, to tell you the truth, Ryder, you don't know what your insurance is going to be in 4 years.
Yeah.
So you might just want to go ahead and start with somebody, even if they're out of network or whatever, because you're not planning on seeing them every week. You're planning on just establishing a little bit of a rapport. I mean, a couple $100 and you can kind of just get that in the bank and then 3 or 4 years from now, figure it out. And so I don't know, but it's also hard to predict because whatever insurance you have right now, even if that doesn't change in 4 years, the likelihood that the provider is going to continue taking that insurance indefinitely may not be true. We switch insurances all the time because all of a sudden we'll get a letter from the insurance that says, hey, it's half price now. It's happy hour on therapy. We're just not going to pay you anymore. And then you're like, so I'm not going to take you, obviously, insurance. The insurance is like, oh, shucks. Oh, well, I guess our members don't have therapists anymore. What can you do? And, they're just breaking the law. But anyway, Ryder, because of those market realities that you're asking about, I would say maybe just go ahead and get established with somebody completely in private practice, talk to them about future options and see what they're willing to do.
I think that's a pretty good idea.
And also look into, if you haven't already, cancer support groups. I mean, your oncology center is going to have access to that kind of information. There are some really good groups, but it's hit and miss with this because I've had patients tell me in these situations, and again, the story I told earlier, I sent him to a cancer support group, and he came back and said, well, I'll never fucking do that again. Oh. And I was like, why? And he's like, it is the saddest experience I've ever had in my life, and I can access my tears and be sad with them, but that is, I can't keep doing that. I've got plenty of sad, and this is not helpful for me, and the way we had a dynamic in our therapy was that we'd access his sad, but then, I use a lot of humor. And so like I would bring him out And that was important. It was a really big part of his success, was like getting him out of it too. So that the groups weren't always able to do that, because they're not, they tend to be a really deep place,
I've never been to one, and I imagine I would come out a completely different person, and maybe not for the better.
It's pretty profound.
Like, it's heavy. Yeah. That's heavy stuff.
Yeah. It's either people, it's nobody's there because they're on a winning streak.
Right.
They're there because they're facing the scariest thing.
And I don't want to dissuade anybody from doing it, but check it out, but just kind of be aware that maybe, what you're getting
into.
It's a
huge resource. It's a huge resource. And it's you don't know it. You meet the group. You meet the group and find out. And every group dynamic is different based on the members of the group, right? And what's going on in there. And sometimes they'll have phases groups, which is appropriate too. That way they're not having, phase 4 people mixed in with people that are still at the beginning of this, and any path could happen. So, Ryder, it's a serious thing. I think we're all very touched and hurting for you. Fuck cancer. I'm really sad that your wife's prognosis doesn't look good. I respect that you know yourself well enough to get ahead of this and navigate. I super respect the contributions you're making to your spouse right now, but I would encourage you to take that first step into therapy, not just because there might be things you don't realize you need to talk about, but also because some people, like I said in my story, need to sit down and say, all right, so this is going to happen, and now I want to be really intentional with the next few years. What can I be doing? And sometimes you want that coaching, to have somebody say, okay, great, let's talk to your spouse about this. Why don't we all come in, and why don't we, like Whitney said, sometimes we're scared to open up about death, and therapy, I think with the right therapist, can be a very important place to say, okay, today we're going to talk about something scary, and I'm going to help you do that and get you out of it at the end so you can go to Chili's, and have dinner. But we're going to talk about stuff. Yeah. And that needs to happen here, and this is the safe place to do that. So that might be something that could still be accomplished. But
yes, you can go to therapy. That's the answer.
That is the answer. You do not have to hesitate. Great question, Ryder. Thank you for this. Good luck. And Ryder, again, if you're not already a Patreon, drop $1. Come over to the Discord. We have such a big community of people that every question that we answer on this show, and for those of you that don't know how the Discord works, the Discord is basically a chat room. It's a website. It's discord.com, I think. And basically, whenever somebody becomes a Patreon of the show, when they log into patreon.com/therapy, it says, hey, do you have a Discord account? You just make one for free right there. And then it automatically teleports you over to our Discord page, which is called Theratopia. And basically inside of that is all these channels about different topics. Sometimes we're just posting pictures of our dogs and memes and fun stuff and jokes and all sorts of stuff. We have areas to vent. We have areas to praise each other about success. We have areas for fitness and accountability. There's some bullshit area about geography trivia that's just there to troll me. I blocked it years ago. But there's also every episode that gets published, the day it publishes, which is Wednesday for the patrons, one of them will create a new thread, and we just talk about that episode. And so listeners will jump in there. They'll answer the questions themselves. They'll give feedback. A lot of times the writers of the questions are in the thread, and they'll jump in and say, hey, that one was me. And it really becomes a very live conversation about real stuff, where a lot of times we get more information, and it really becomes a dialogue. So just know, writer, that we have a very supportive community. They're some of the finest human beings I've ever met in my life. They're the reason we keep doing the show. And so if you know that you're going to just need to build up a good support team as you approach this new season of your life, we would welcome you to come be a part of that with us. So come be a part of it, man. We just want to make sure you feel the love and that you know you're not alone. All right. We are at the end of the show. Do you want to do the last trivia questions now before the wrap up, or post?
Nope, post.
As we wrap up the show, we want to remind you that you can sign up at patreon.com/therapy. You can get the extended show ad-free a day early, as well as enjoy our live chat, Discord community, our weekly deep dives, interviews, skill shares, research roundups, and rants. What was this Monday's episode about, Nick? I think it's your first rant.
Ooh, a rant?
He got sassy.
The kids were skateboarding on a sidewalk.
Get off my lawn.
No, I talked about depiction depictions of mental health in movies.
Yeah.
I looked at some of the worst examples and some of my personal favorites as best examples.
Okay.
What about Bob?
Was Memento?
Yeah, what
oh
about
my
Bob
gosh,
is so
Peter brings
solid.
up what about Bob like every week in some way, and I'm like, stop it. So maddening.
It's funny. So I came across Screen Rant did their like 20 worst movies depicting mental health.
Oh,
and
fun.
then I also found another Screen Rant article about the best movies depicting mental health. What about Bob's on both?
Oh, of
I
course.
can totally see that.
Of course it is. And it deserves
Bravo.
to be.
It's correctly on both.
Yes.
Such a good.
Yes.
Okay, 4 bonus points, Nick. What was the name of the book that Dreyfus wrote?
Baby Steps.
Baby Steps.
Yes.
I just love that he always be like,
I'm just going to do baby steps out of the office. I'm just going to do baby steps out of the. I'm going to do baby steps down the hall. Baby steps down the hall.
re-traumatizing
Oh
me.
my gosh.
Carrying his fish
I
around
love
on
the
his
beginning
neck.
where he keeps calling like the suicide hotline.
They know him.
They all know
Dude,
him.
if you love that movie, you would love Dream Team. Please
I don't
watch Dream Team.
For years, you were trying to get me to watch this
Yes.
Iron Eagle movie, which I never
Oh,
watched.
Iron Eagle. That was
Come
on last night. I kid you not. It was on like Bravo, and I started watching it.
Bravo.
You have cable?
You have cable?
Yeah, I
That's
know.
what
I got
was
YouTube
gonna ask.
TV.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Which is great.
That makes more sense.
Yeah.
I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah, I was like, whoa.
Good
Showing
I got
your
bunny
age.
ears.
Showing
Yeah,
your
I know.
age.
Oh, the bunny ears are badass though. If you can actually get the real antenna system now,
Oh, yeah.
that's
Yeah.
a luxury item.
Yeah.
Yep, every Monday, new content. And as we said earlier, I don't know if that was in the Patreon. We've been doing this for years now with the new content. I mean, we're nailing it. So
Yeah.
it's 52 extra bonus things a year. And and we also,
Patreon.com/therapy.
There it is.
Go sign up for $5 a month.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal. Go do it. You do get a lot of stuff out of it. You get the episode a day early, and you get like an hour extra content
Yes.
every week.
And we got March Madness coming up. Get in that because
Yes,
that's going to be
'cause
fun.
Whitney's gonna win.
Because you can pick Whitney's tramp stamp.
Yeah.
Okay, can we do an honesty thing here where it's
No.
just like completely
No.
you and not Peter fill out this bracket for me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Can we please?
Okay.
The integrity is bullshit.
I'm gonna have Peter fill
Your
mine out.
sports betting husband
That's
won
fine.
the
I
fantasy
don't want him
football
filling out
fucking
hers.
league.
Hey, I just said I had a manager.
Yeah.
That's all. No, basketball will be on me. He's not a basketball person. So.
Oh, okay.
No. I do like
Sure, he has
basketball.
no
though.
Sure,
clue
yeah.
what the
Yeah.
odds
Wink,
are.
wink, Nick. Wink, wink.
Yeah, geez.
That's for Jim.
Weird.
That answer.
I just bet the chalk every year, so I'm just the pace car.
And that's
right?
why you lose.
No, I have never lost, actually. I'm just extremely good at betting at
Till
sports.
2024.
I think last year was the first one you actually won, though, wasn't it?
All I know is I did not pay for sushi. That is,
Fine.
yes.
That's not what I asked.
I think I've never lost.
Yeah,
I didn't say. But how many times have you won?
Oh,
That's what I'm
Actually,
asking.
one.
Yeah.
I think twice.
No.
I think
feel like
just,
I have
I think
two.
last year was the only one.
Okay, wait, hold on.
Are you talking out of the three of us?
No, out of you and me, it's overwhelming. Like, I've been whooping your ass since like 2013, I want to say.
Unfortunately for you, that's not what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Oh, I
Just-
forgot. If we're doing full honesty,
it's
yeah,
terrible.
yeah, full honesty. Who did set my lineup for the week that I played Nick?
Oh,
Who
shit.
was that?
Oh yeah, who did set that lineup?
Whitney, what are
was
you doing?
that? It
Cutter
wasn't
Mike.
Peter.
Cutter Mike.
What?
Cutter Mike right now.
Oh, Peter. Yeah,
What?
Peter didn't
Oh,
set that
fuck.
lineup. The week that Whitney played Nick in fantasy football. Because did you set that lineup, Whitney?
You know what? I don't think I got around to it.
There's
That was
no
the week I was
reason to
going to leave
continue.
it because
I
I'm
knew she was
legitimately
gonna-
setting up my lineups, and Peter had
Yoko
nothing to
Onoing,
do with
dude.
it.
I told you this bitch was going to Yoko Ono us.
Hey,
Don't
someone
listen
asked
to
for
her.
honesty here.
Don't listen to her, man.
Go on.
So interesting. Who could have set the lineup though? Who had access?
right,
Who had
look.
like commissioner access?
You know
to the
what, Nick?
lineup?
Because I'm a man of honesty. All right, full disclosure. The week that you were facing Whitney in fantasy football, I noticed that she had like
The
8
same people.
on bye. Like just in the starting
They're like,
lineup.
So
weren't even
you
playing.
set her lineup?
I went in as the commissioner and changed her lineup to make sure.
What an asshole.
You know what? I could have lost fantasy football.
I just
Jim
wanted
would
it
have
to
just
be a
left
fair
it.
fight.
If he'd have left it, I might have
So
lost.
I had
but didn't.
messaged her and I was like, "Hey, you need to fix your lineup." She's like, "Okay, I'll get around to it." And it was like a
The
few
same day.
hours before it was about to start. I
No, it
like,
was the
"Fuck."
day before.
I panicked, and so
was
I
definitely
got
the
in
day
there.
before.
Yeah.
And I just changed her lineup, and then I messaged her like, "Hey, I fixed your lineup."
I was
for
like,
you."
what? I didn't even have a chance to go in and
Yeah,
do
I didn't
it.
trust her to get it right, so I did it. So yeah,
We voted as a community
You're
who was going to
welcome.
start for running back.
You're
That's
welcome.
shit.
Mm-hmm. Look, she beat me too, man.
That's
okay.
dirty.
I did.
I feel bad about it, but I couldn't let you win. Like that just
All right,
if I'm
go
going to
on.
lose, I need you to lose as well.
Okay.
That's very
All
important to me.
All right.
As we get to the end of the show, we want to thank those of you who went to patreon.com/therapy and joined the Theraparty. Who are our newest Therapals, Nick?
Amna Kamal
It feels right.
and Nicole Rotary.
Woo!
I like it. Who's the new Therapod, Whitney?
Therapod Lenny.
I like that. And that's all. We want to thank our Therapartners, the benevolent, revered, generous, and flagrantly pro-therapy diehards who love you all so much that they give till it hurts. Thank you, Dirty B, Myra, and Pickett. And we want to thank our bosses, the mysterious and shrouded Illuminati members of the fan club, the Theraproducers. Thank you, Jake Schneider, Robert Brownie Jr. Mint, Smitty Scoop, Ben Don, Judy Schneider, Kayla Lansbury, Mr. and Mrs. Hot Dog Scoop, Malia, Leon Kassab, Mason Miller, Richard Macy, Carolyn Albert, Kevin Chamberlain, Tess Miller, Sammy Scoop, Ben Stanley Slapping Your Face, Sarah Smith, Adam Hathaway, Byler T, University, Jeff, Mike Helm, Paris, Samantha Cohn, Darren Cunningham, Lib, Team Monaco, Thunder Cougar, Falcon Scoop, Matt and Lisa Tangeman, Heyo, Oscar Swanrose, A Sunny Boy, Slurpy Kaye Motherfucker, Sandra McWaffle, Dan Martin, and Hannah Marie.
And if you'd like to hear this episode uncut and unedited,
And why wouldn't you?
enjoy our spontaneous side project,
You guys are adorable.
go to patreon.com/therapy and thank you for supporting mental
You
health.
gotta harmonize.
It's just beautiful. Don't forget, if you'd like to meet us live in person in Las Vegas, go to
Yes.
Hey Scoops.
Scoopfest.com.
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 Do
Get
it.
your ass a ticket.
Do it.
Come down. Do the
May.
live show.
May 7th, 8th, and 9th, I think.
Stay at the Orleans Casino with a discount code of whatever the fuck's on the website.
Yeah.
Hang out with us. It's going to be a fun time. We'll be there live doing fun things. So check that out. That's all time we got for this week's session. I want to thank our landlords, Matt Mattingly's Ice Cream Social Podcast. Thanks to those of you who contributed to our show today. We do appreciate it. Tag us on the socials when you share this episode with the world. It's at PodTherapyGuys at Twitter and Threads and Instagram, and it's /PodTherapy on Facebook. Don't forget about the extra goodies, patreon.com/therapy.
And if you feel like submitting a question to the show, you can ask anonymously at podtherapy.net or email us at podtherapyguys@gmail.com. I'm Nick Tangeman.
I'm Whitney.
I'm Jim.
Thanks, and we'll see you for your appointment next week.
Scoopfest is happening May 9th, 10th, and 11th,
There
which
it
are the
is.
dates that I just said a second
I
ago.
was like,
And if you come to Scoopfest and you want to buy me a beer, you can do that.
That's
That's true.
I will allow it.
And you know what? We'll actually share that beer, so that way we can.
We're
save
not going to
people
share
money.
that beer.
Just two
who's gonna
straws.
drink the last drink?
Well, we
That's
use
not-
2 straws,
that's-
Whitney. We're not animals. Okay,
Yeah,
Yeah.
straws. We drink our beer through straws.
that's the
That's
way
how-
of the civilized
Lots of
man.
back-
Well, yeah,
Wow.
because you don't want the ice cubes hitting your teeth.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. So that's
Yeah.
why I use the straws.
Yeah.
All right, ask us the Shakespeare question.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let me, hold on. I got
Shakes Nick.
Nick's
All right. Guess the play. When shall we three meet again? In thunder, lightning, or in rain?
I don't know.
Buzz
Buzz.
whenever you're ready.
Buzz, the Tempest.
Nope.